Going live. Hey, y'all. So we have no idea what we're doing here. It seems there's some new rules on YouTube. So we're hoping this works. We're hoping this is archived. We're going to find out. So it's funny. I've done a few 1-minute things for cooking demonstrations, and I still have all my fingers, which is a plus. I never appreciated the TV chefs as much as the first time I tried to look into a camera and chop vegetables and come up with all my fingers and toes. So we're going to see if I still remember how to do that. So this video, I'm going to do my very best to kind of talk you through how we make wu chi pai fong, which is a soup using a black chicken. And it roughly translates black chicken, white phoenix. The whole idea is that this is the soup that we use when somebody's had a baby, a surgery, they're recovering from a long illness, or really just to kind of supercharge and nourish our body when we're feeling depleted. So there's not a set recipe. You can Google it, but the reality is we use a lot of our tonic herbs. And in Chinese medicine, anytime that we build things up, we nourish things up, we want to make sure that we don't cause things to get stuck, stagnation. So we always do a little bit of invigoration. So there's a little bit of invigorating herbs here. I'm going to say weird Chinese names. If I remember the Latin names, or at least the common name, I'll use those as well. And this might take a little while. We didn't pre-prep a whole lot of things, so you might have to watch me, my chopping prowess and prep a little bit. So, of course, one of the odd things that we have to get is actually a black chicken, so I'm just going to get this out of the way. And these we get at the, let me get a little bit of the juice off of there. So these are actually black chickens. They're called silkies, and they do have the head and the feet on there. They do come pre-plucked, and sometimes they got the gizzard and stuff in there, sometimes not. So this is just like making chicken soup. I don't actually chop the carcass up. All of it goes into the pot. If you're going to eat it, it's a very strong flavor to actually eat the flesh from this. It's not wrong to eat it at all. But I hate to say it, for Herb Day, and we're making this for Herb Day for everybody to enjoy, I actually take the carcass out and I feed it to some of the critters here. So I don't like to waste the meat. But the head and feet is super important. This is about nourishing the essence, the jing of the body. And we say that the brain is the sea of marrow. And so really that's part of the jing. So I could have this already on the stove top starting to heat up. But, you know, for the magic of TV, we're going to go ahead and just throw them in the pot, and I am going to wash the bird juice off of me, so pardon me while I clean up. Oh, that shows up pretty good on the computer. All right.
Thank you, chicken.
Thank you for your patience. And so at this point, I have a lot of dried herbs I like to add to the mix. So I'm going to kind of talk through these a little bit. Where shall we start? Oh, let's start with the good stuff here. So this one here, we've got lianzi, which is lotus seed, and the little brown one here is some sliced renshen or ginseng. So this is actually the steamed ginseng. It's a little bit warmer than the white ginseng, or certainly warmer than the American ginseng. That's a fair bit, and I'm going to end up making this very weak. This would be about the right amount. I probably have about 20 grams of the white lotus seeds. These cook down nicely and have a nice toothy bite to them. We actually put these in our 8 treasure congee we're going to do here in a little bit on a separate video. And the renshen breaks down enough. Sometimes you end up with that in the soup. We're going to strain this out. So I'm going to dump all of that ginseng and lotus seed. What do we got in here? Oops, there's a little bit more ginseng.
Wait, hold on a minute. This is Renee speaking. I want to say something about what Bob said. He just was saying that the ginseng was hot, and he doesn't mean that it was hot in his hands. It wasn't cooked. It's its energetic action within the body, and what it does, it warms things up. And so make sure that as he's telling you this is cold or this is hot,
cool energetic
he doesn't mean you have to make it cold or you have to prepare it hot.
She's right about all of that. So I believe this is some dried ginger. So dried ginger is a little bit different action in Chinese medicine than fresh ginger. So we're going to do a little bit of both. So this is a little bit of fresh ginger, and this is Ligustricum root, xuanshang. So this is a nice blood mover. That's going to go into the pot. This is chen pi, and this looks like shutuan. Shutuan is teasel root, actually. Chen pi is tangerine peel. Actually, the older it is, the better it is. It's one of the few herbs that we actually after we harvest it, after we dry it, we want it older.
So is that mature tangerine peel?
It's a very mature. It is one of our elders,
Okay.
and so this aids with digestion. If we talk about vitamin C and all of its anti-inflammatory benefits, we talk about the bioflavonoids, and so the real magic of citrus fruit isn't the yummy fruit; it's the peel and the white and the pith, all the really dark stuff. The teasel root, we say, strengthens the low back. But in Western herbal medicine, we often talk about teasel root is specific for chronic Lyme disease, post Lyme disease, when there's a lot of aches and pains associated with that. So we'll work on that a little bit. This is one of my personal favorites. I probably overuse reishi mushroom, Lingjur, Ganoderma lucidium. So this works on the heart. This works on the lungs. It's a nice drying. I find this just does amazing things for the immune system. So we're going to throw that guy in there. Fu Ling, Poria mushroom. I love little curls. These are like little cigars. So these help to drain damp, transform phlegm, calms the shen, as well as tonifies the spleen qi. So that's these little white curlies.
Bob, do you pick that one over the other one that's in squares for a reason, or do you just like that one?
I do. The squares usually have a little bit of the root in it, and that's the Fu Shen, which is greater emphasis on the calm the shen. So I don't want anybody to fall asleep in class tomorrow when we're doing all the lecture, so I want to make sure they stay awake and no dampness. So this one is actually, we've got a little bit of the glue from a turtle shell, freshwater turtle shell, we say nourishes the essence, as well as a little Lu Jiao Jiao, which is deer antler glue. So we have a couple of each one of those. These are strongly nourishing to both the yang as well as the yin. And that's the biggest He Shou Wu slice I've ever seen. So Polygonum multiflori, inappropriately sometimes called faux tea. This is a great blood tonic, and it's kind of we'd say an essence tonic. It helps to turn the hair black. You have to come to a lecture sometime, and I'll talk about when my mom, and 80 years old, her roots started to come back black because we had this in her tincture. We've got a little Romania, so this is Shengdi, and a little Tianmendong. So this is the Tianmendong in here as well. It's been steamed. It makes it a little bit more digestible. It's the same herb basically as shatavari. And yummy asparagus. So lots of yin and blood tonics.
And I have a question for you real quick, because everybody's going to ask, because they don't cook the way that you're cooking.
You mean just throwing junk in there?
Yup. Does it matter the quantities of these specifically, or is it just what you're feeling, or a handful, or is there for real a recipe and you just don't follow it?
There is no recipe. Actually, there is. If you Google Wu Chi Pai Fang, itmonline.com actually has a recipe for Wu Chi Pai Fang. And I follow some of that. I won't say I follow it specifically. I alter that a little bit. But
As far as quantities,
I literally,
a handful.
Anybody who was at the clinic this afternoon, I literally deciding how much of stuff I went by the handful. We're going to end up making almost 10 gallons of soup with this. So that's actually dilute. If I had somebody who had just given birth, had lost a lot of blood, surgery, things like that, I would maybe use these same quantities, like almost a handful of each one, and maybe do it in 2 gallons of soup and freeze some of it so that they could get a nice sustained period of stuff. So all of the same stuff that's in here. We also have Bai Shao. Sorry, we didn't separate that out. We didn't think of doing the video yet.
I did a bad job.
Bai Shao is the white peony root. And what else did I put in there? We said Romania, we said ginseng, we said lianzi. So all of those goodies are in here. That's probably the bulk of it. So we're going to dump all of that into our pot. But then we got some surprises here as well. This is shanyao. So this is actually the Chinese wild yam. And just got this fresh from the Asian market. So we're going to add this up to get a little starch in there. And this is really slimy in my hand. So this is a nice fresh root. And I just like to peel this. You don't have to peel this. We did scrub all the vegetables that we're going to throw in here.
And slimy in his hand is good because he wants that starchy.
Yes.
He wants that binding, so it's good.
Look at that. Yeah.
So in the recording, for everybody who's watching it live, I'm gonna zoom in on that sticky, and it really is actually gross.
Yeah.
But that's what we want. We want the inside of our body coated and inflammation coated, and we want the soup to be hearty and thick, and so that's why we want it that way.
So Shan Yao helps with loose stools. It's good for the spleen qi, i.e. the digestion, the energy of the body. And we're going to throw in some of that and some of that. I'm going to wash my hands because I'm going to cut myself if I keep those
Sticks
slimy
things
hands.
together.
Whoa, that's...
Oh, gross. I don't like slimy.
Oh, this is extra snotty.
Something Bob knows a lot about.
That's right.
Extra snotty.
So then we're going to do a little bit of lotus root. So this is actually grows in the water in usually fairly still water. We won't find this in a raging river. And this is, we put the seeds of this in here. So this is just using a different part of the plant. So we find that different parts of the plant have different actions. So this is also considered a tonic. All of the this nourishes the kidney. Again, you don't have to peel this. I prefer it being peeled, cutting the ends off, because this did grow in some stagnant pond somewhere. So I want that fairly.
For all of you that are familiar with North Florida, going up towards Paynes Prairie, there's these retaining ditches, basically, and there's lotus all in there. And every time I see them blooming, I think about, hey, is that where that root comes from? Is it in that space? But it's all kind of like a drainage ditch, like a runoff. You can see them every year blooming, and that's where you would get it from.
And if you're ever lucky enough to be one of our senior Western herb students, or actually Chinese herb students too, get to go if they want, we have the yellow pond lily that grows here. That it's interesting, we find that the root looks the same when we cut it. It has this segmentation. So the native people actually use that in very similar ways. And so I would say this is a more classical one.
And the reason Bob said that was because we take you out into the water to find it.
Sorry, Hillsborough River. We find this everywhere.
We go wild harvesting, and that's one of the plants we find.
Look, see, that's what it looks like.
Super interesting. Bob, hold it still for a minute so I can zoom in. Oh, so beautiful. Nature is wonderful.
So this is normal. So these little tributaries, think about doctrine of signatures. When something looks like something, what it's used for. So this might be beneficial for the lung. We could see that as clear capillaries and blood vessels. We're going to throw that in there. So remember I said ginger, that we want to add a little fresh ginger. That's for aiding digestion and nausea. If you don't know it, you don't have to skin ginger. You can actually leave that on. This is called shengjiang in Chinese medicine. The peel is considered hotter than the ginger root itself. So the peel is called shengjiang peel. But if you don't want to leave the peel on, spoons were great for peeling a ginger root, because ginger roots is all knobby and hard to get in there. So I like to scrape it down a little bit. So just using a regular spoon and getting the big chunks off. It's been sitting in the store for a day or two. This is really good ginger. I can smell just the sweet, aromatic, the scent is just coming across. It's funny. I love ginger. Like, I would have pounds of ginger in every meal I ever eat. Renee hates ginger. So guess what? She's got heat. I got cold. So this is great for warming me up, warming my digestion, and really just helps me have a happy digestion.
In the jungles of Ecuador, the shamans will spit ginger on you to keep the spirit of the jungle in your space elevated, to keep your vibration high and elevated.
So we'll be ready to go to the jungle after this meal. So we don't need to do a fine dice. This is going into soup, and so it's just going to cook all up. I'm fanatical about washing my hands, so pardon me whilst we have those brief interludes. And
What's next?
make sure my plates, sorry for those of you who think that's so garlic. Who doesn't like garlic? So if you don't know it, there's a really fun way to you could sit there and peel garlic all day long. It's a lot of work. So I'm gonna try the old school method, which is way fun. This makes the peeling a lot better. Garlic obviously kills all things. I think it just tastes good.
Bob, you just made me think of something that they might need to know.
What's that?
Is it traditional for you to eat all the pieces that are in there or just to have broth?
So you can do it either way.
So does that mean you could leave the peels on these if you wanted to?
Yeah, you probably could. Never thought about that. I do like to get it exposed to some air, and it gets a little bit of a chemical change. When we do like the garlic nasal wash,
Yeah.
that we like that 10 minutes of exposure to air to ensure that we get that chemical change that really helps with that antimicrobial and less burny aspect of it.
What Bob's referring to is if you let the garlic sit crushed into the air or anything in that family of plants, it will have a one molecule change that will make it so that people who generally get a gut upset or digestion upset from it will not. It will lessen it a little bit, but the antimicrobial and the effect of the garlic and the flavor is still very present. So it's something to do is to go ahead and prep that ahead of time for a stir fry if you think it's going to bother someone's tummy.
So, this whole black chicken, white phoenix thing is very classical Chinese dish and very normal. I've actually used this. We had one of the practitioners in our clinic after having a baby. I actually brought this to her and really literally turned her around within hours. But I would say this is similar in idea to what we do more here in the West, which is bone soup. So bone soup, we oftentimes are just throwing vegetables in there and things like that, some mushrooms. And there's certainly, Renee and I have some really powerful things. We use bone soup for cancer patients and post-chemo and things like that. It would be very appropriate to use a very similar set of herbs and do it with bone broth. The idea of using the black chicken is the significance of using that whole animal. The same reason we use the marrow bones is because that is considered the essence or the jing of the body. So it's really the same thing. It's just that it was easier to get chickens than it was to kill a cow. And a little bit easier on the digestion, I think, to eat that. So I'm just going to chop up a little onion here. I think that besides having some nice antimicrobial properties to it, I think it makes the soup taste nice. People are really apprehensive when I have this out at Herb Day. By the way, if I didn't say it, Herb Day is tomorrow. From 10 to 4, 2520 Central Avenue. 20 vendors, 2 different musical acts, lectures in 2 different tents the entire time. And every single one of the vendors has something going on with herbs. And everything from great herbal medicine from some of our students and some of the other herbalists in our community to herbal clothing to lots of plants. We've got, I think, 3 plant vendors out there this time. Ourselves and Willow, of course. And we've got a special treat coming up this year. We've decided to start our herbal community has been growing so much in the last few years, with the increase in participants in the herbal program by, Renee adding in the Western herbs and teaching more and more out in our community. There's herbalists everywhere, and it's wonderful, and there's an appreciation and an understanding of the importance of looking at some sort of a diagnostic technique, a formulation appropriate for the individual, that there's no one size fits all. So we thought it was important to start to recognize the other herbalists in our community. So this is going to be the first year, and this is the 14th annual Herb Day celebration. This is a national event that goes on every year for 14 years. And it was an attempt to bring herbal information and a better awareness for herbal medicine to the general public. Oh, thank you. Water, good. And a number of our national organizations, the United Plant Savers, the American Herbalist Guild, the American Botanical Council, American Herbal Products Association, and so many other of the important for-profit and non-profit organizations out there that are in that alternative health and particularly in the herbal realm. And so the whole idea was that after they got the national decree 14 years ago, that everybody create their own idea of Herb Day. And when I found out about this through the American Herbalist Guild, I just saw this wonderful opportunity, and I never wanted it to end. What I did was I immediately set it up, and we started doing these events and inviting all of the different herbalists in our community and advertising it. So we wanted to take it a step further and start to recognize folks. So this year we're going to actually, we've got a plaque, we're going to issue an award for the Herbalist of the Year in the Tampa Bay area. And make sure that we acknowledge, in this case, and I'm not going to say who it is, it's a surprise for all of y'all. He knows it.
I didn't even know we were doing it.
Yeah. So it's somebody who's been in our community probably for 30 years as an educator, as well as working as a clinician and coming to people's homes and helping them out. And I think it's really important that, so many people work behind the scenes making things happen, and there's so many people who dedicate every spare moment of their life to making sure that the word is being spread, the education is getting out there. So, enough of that. Come to Herb Day.
Anything
it's awesome. Left? So we got a little Shanya. You know what? I got a little daikon. Okay, that's a big daikon. Let's throw some daikon in. Let's throw some daikon in. What's your favorite thing to throw into a soup, Renee? This is chicken soup. Is really what we're doing.
Garlic and rosemary really is something that I shoot for.
Rosemary would be great in here. Maybe we'll add some rosemary when we reheat it tomorrow. We might go ahead and add some rosemary.
When we're making this for moms that, even though it has invigoration, moms that have had babies, or when we're making this for our cancer clients, they tend to have a little brain fog. And so that's helpful. Yeah. Like, it's a helpful thing, and it's a good antimicrobial.
I'm going to steal Bo Shakespeare and Renee saying that, rosemary is for remembering. So really all I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this with water, bring it to a boil, and reduce it for a simmer. I'm going to cook it as long as humanly possible. So this is going to get cooked probably for about 3 or 4 hours, and then tomorrow we'll strain all of this goodness out and dilute it down a little bit, because we got a lot. We're expecting close to 1,000 people to come to Herb Day tomorrow, which may be our biggest crowd ever. The weather looks like it's going to be perfect. I'm taking the doors off the hinges, so there is no hindrance for people to explore all the goodness that we got coming on. So if any of you are in the Tampa Bay area, come see us tomorrow. And what we're going to do, we're going to have vendors all the way in the back. So come in, park on First Avenue North or South, because it's probably not going to be a lot of parking on Central.
Free parking.
Yep, free parking everywhere around there. And make sure that you come inside, and we've got right on through the classroom, we've got vendors and more plants out back, and then we even got vendors in the backpack. If you haven't been in there, we got a pond with fish, and we've got pond plants back there, all kinds of cool
plants
stuff
for sale.
So,
Herb Day t-shirts.
Ooh, that's right. We got Herb Day t-shirts. I should have had that on. We'll have our Herb Day t-shirts on tomorrow. So, Wu Chi Bai Fong, black chicken white phoenix soup. This is something that is both a longevity, nourishing, and even considered somewhat of a beautification thing. That it's really just transforming that chicken into this rising up, reborn phoenix. So don't feel like you have to wait till you're really sick to enjoy this. Don't hyper-focus on the herbs that I used. I'm sure we could come up with a version that's using Western herbs. We could put in tons of mushrooms to work on an immunity system. But usually we're kind of focusing on blood. If you're in Chinese medicine, more yin type of nourishing, kidney essence kind of idea. You don't need a lot. We're not going to drink a big bowl of this. We're actually going to just drink a cup or two, and maybe once a day, twice a day. So this can be frozen, reused, and reheated, and it's so powerful. Literally, I'll be running around like a maniac tomorrow. I'm up at 4:30 tomorrow morning making some bitter melon stir fry. I'll be at the clinic probably at 7 a.m. getting everything set up, and somehow I keep running until 5. This is the stuff that keeps me going. So I hope to see you soon. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, because we want to make sure that you find out about every great video that we're putting out on YouTube. We're working hard to try to hit that magical 1,000 subscribers. We don't get any spam from it, and ultimately, we make a few bucks so that we can spend more time teaching you guys.
And if you hit subscribe, you get alerted every time we do an herb walk or put anything new up.
Yep, that's it. So I'm going to we're going to end this video, and in about 10 minutes, I'm going to start the next video. It's a really short one. I'm going to make a jellyfish salad, and it takes a little while to rinse it. So I'm going to try to rinse a little bit of it first, maybe chop up a little bit of the cabbage so you don't have to sit there while I'm endlessly chopping away. I'm a pretty exciting choppy person. And that may be the only thing we make tonight. I might make a little mung beans and put on another pot of rice.
But maybe we'll film in the morning at 4:30.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get up. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I don't know if I'm going to make it to bed by 10 o'clock like I hope to. I definitely have a little bit more prep time. So as soon as you get a chance, hit one of the Asian markets near you for a frozen black chicken. Or make sure, if you don't have access to that, if you're in the Midwest somewhere where there's not a lot of Asian markets, make sure that you use a creativity. I would say marrow bones would work just as well in a very similar way, or not a wild chicken, but a free-ranging pasture-raised chicken
with all the parts.
We don't want a lot of fat with this, and you may have noticed that silky, that black chicken was really lean. There was no extra fat in there, so there will be almost no oil or grease that's associated with this. If you didn't notice that, black skin, black beak, black toes, black bones, and it has black feathers. It's actually a beautiful bird. Our neighbor actually had a silkie, and we've had silkies we've raised in the past here. So, all right.
Bye.
I'll let you all go. Bye. See you next time.